Attention American poker players! Do you want to legally cash out your poker winnings to PayPal? Then head to globalpoker.com and see why it's the fastest growing site for US players. That's globalpoker.com.
PokerStars is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the felt.
That's right, it's time for another edition of Poker Stories, brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. If you are listening to this episode the week it came out, then you know that we are officially in the middle of the WSOP main event here in Las Vegas. So we thought we'd keep it topical and drop this episode featuring the youngest main event winner ever, Joe Cada. Now, if you only remember Joe from his coverage of winning the main event, there's a decent chance that, like ESPN, you didn't get the full story. For instance, you might be surprised to find out that Joe was already a successful cash game grinder who had already bought his own house before he won the main event. In fact, he was already multi-tabling 10-20 as a 17-year-old in high school. Joe is one of those rare main event winners that doesn't walk around the Rio like a main event winner, and I think that will come across as you listen to the interview. So here it is, my conversation with Joe Cada. So I'm here with Joe Cada. What's up?
How's it going? Good, how are you?
Good. When did you get into town?
Day before the tag team, I believe. So,
are you always a full series kind of guy, or have you eased back in recent years?
I'm a full series guy. I ease it back with everything else. So when it comes to traveling, like I only really play the WSOP. Maybe only played like 4 or 5 like WPT events before, and only a few EPTs.
In your whole life?
Yeah.
Wow, that's you really do. Stick to one.
I just stay
venue.
home and travel to Vegas during the summer. So.
All right, well, let's go back to the beginning. Utica, born and raised?
Yeah, born and raised.
Tell me a little bit about Utica. Utica, Michigan, for those
Utica,
unfamiliar.
Michigan. I guess it's like every other town, I would believe. I mean, it's suburbs. Grew up, my family did well growing up. I was the youngest of 4. Got into sports at a very early age. I was really good at soccer. If I maybe pursued soccer, I could have went somewhere with that. But I decided to go to the poker route.
So you're just a sports guy.
Yeah, big sports guy growing up.
And I read your mother was a blackjack dealer.
Yeah,
at Motor City. Is that the name of the place?
Yeah, she was a dealer for several years at the casino. She retired once I won the main. But yeah, she had a lot of health issues. Mm-hmm. So she needed to retire anyways.
Oh, then the win couldn't have come
at
a better time.
The win was perfect.
So you were exposed to gambling, I guess, pretty early on?
Yeah, I guess I was even exposed to even earlier. I guess my dad had like a gambling problem when I was younger.
Is he open about it?
Now my dad, the last few months has been rough with my dad. He had a really serious stroke.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, the last few months has been in and out of just care homes and hospitals and stuff like that. So he's paralyzed half the body right now. He was in a coma for about a month on a ventilator, so it was rough the last few months.
Oh, at least he came out of it though.
Yeah, he came out of it. It's good. It's tough seeing him like that, but it's better than just being on a ventilator for a month.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right.
He was a car guy. In Michigan for
automotive.
years.
I got into poker. I was always really quiet in school. I got into poker actually too young.
16, right?
Yeah, probably even before that.
Oh, the Wikipedia says you were playing online at 16, but we don't have to statute of limitations is up.
Yeah, of course. So it was okay. I was playing online at an early age. I started off, moneymaker boom with, the rest of the poker population, and I was always playing at friends' house after school. They had poker games and small games here and there, and I noticed I was doing really good, and I was always really good at math. I was always a few years ahead in school and math programs, so I noticed that translated a little bit to poker. And then I was always a gamer too, so that helped. You learn through your mistakes, just like video games.
Like video games or board games
video games like Halo, like first-person shooters mostly. So I was really good at that, and traveled for competitions just for video games. I was a giant nerd. But it translated well.
Did you look like a giant nerd, or did
you
look like you did now?
No, I look like a giant nerd. I had my awkward phase with my braces, and just, everyone goes through their awkward phases in life. So I was a big nerd. So
the 5 o'clock shadow helps.
Yeah, I noticed the more quiet I was in school, the less you kind of get picked on or bullied. So I was kind of a quiet kid. I came home and played poker, and I got my first job. I was actually working on the table as a busboy I was only like 14 at the time, until I was legal age to work, and they started actually paying me not under the table. But it helped because I made side money, and I could put $50 online and play poker and grind out 25 cent, 50 cent, 50 cent dollar for a while, till eventually it was back and forth for a while, and then eventually it was like 16 years old and just really took off. I went from playing 2-4 all the time to playing 5-10 all the time to playing 10-20, and next thing you know I was 17, 18, just playing 10-20 on the regular. And
that's what a lot of people don't know about you is they think you kind of came out of nowhere, won a satellite, and then made a bunch of money on the main event. But I read that you already bought yourself a house by the age of 19.
Yeah, when I was 19, I probably was up around like maybe $750,000 coming online, putting $50. I bought a house, paid all my taxes.
Mostly cash games?
Yeah, mostly cash games. I only played cash games. I got into tournaments a lot later. I remember one tournament I played, it was a $750K on full tilt, and I didn't really even play tournaments at the time. I told my 2 roommates at the time, I'm like, whatever I make in this tournament, I'll split with you guys. And sure enough, I won the $750K for like $150K, so I gave them each $50K. I'm like, maybe I'll try tournaments on Sunday. So I started playing cash during the week and tournaments on Sunday.
Wait, you gave them each $50K?
Yeah, I gave them each.
So you didn't even make them split 75?
No, I gave them each 50. I was a man of my word. And
man.
And I started playing tournaments on Sunday, and I think
Hold on, quick note. I hate all of my friends now.
I think I won almost every major on full tilt. I struggled at PokerStars on tournaments. I was never really playing much on PokerStars. It was mostly ultimate bet and a little bit full tilt. I was doing really well in ultimate bet. I didn't even know I got cheated out of a lot of that money. I got, I think, like $60K back in the scandal.
Really?
I woke up one day, I went on my UB account, I had extra $60K on there.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a very.
So you were winning so well, you got cheated out of $60,000 and didn't even notice.
Well, here's the thing: it's like I was doing really well on Party Poker, and Party Poker shut down to U.S. customers, and I could only put $600 on at the time of Ultimate Bet, just with the debit or credit card, and it wasn't a big deal. I'm like, I have a lot of money saved up. I'll just try to run this up real quick. And I remember the first day I was playing 50-cent dollar 4 tables, and I ran each table up to over 1,000. And then next thing I know, like 3.5 months later, I turned my 600 on UB up to over 400,000, and I was playing anyone and everyone heads up. If you wanted to play, I was willing to play. Like even a lot of the better players, I had like a Card Runners membership at the time, and I watched a lot of the guests, like all the pros and a lot of those guys play, and it actually translated well when I actually played some of these guys heads up, because I could understand what they thought were strong lines, what they thought, what they kind of like, how they played their stylistic matchups.
Were you trying to match their style or play like a counter?
I did match their style for a while. I right when I started, I tried as best as I could to match their styles, and actually, use your own logic along the way of trying to figure out whether, someone's bluffing or not. But it eventually translated in my own little style, a lot from them too, though, and I think that helped me tremendously, those Card Runners videos. I think that gave me a huge lift up in my game.
Do you remember any like epic sessions from back then?
I had a lot of epic sessions. I remember when I got up to like 400 and some K, I remember I started playing anything. Now I was like 50-100, and I lost, I think, like 150K playing 50-100 heads up, and that's when I was like, all right, gotta take a few steps. I mean, 150 is not that much considered the stakes, but being 19 at the time, I'm just
it's
like
almost half your net worth.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm gonna cash out a few 100,000 and restart at 5-10 again. I don't want to get to that and just lose it all. It's you get that mentality of wanting to chase, or knowing what you're at and trying to get back to that spot. And that was what I struggled with a lot.
Bring that up later.
So I cashed out a few hundred and just restarted, and that's when I ended up getting the 50 or 60 back in my account. So I don't know how much that actually impacted me on moving up even higher or sending me back or whatever.
I think it's safe to say that it cost you millions.
Yeah, who knows?
So obviously, fast forward to the big one, 2009 World Series of Poker main event. You're 21. It's your first chance ever, and you hit it right away, first try.
I mean, it was pretty lucky. I mean, going out there, I mean, I was doing well, but it wasn't something I was prepared to lose like $100,000 during the summer or $80,000 just playing events. And at that time, I bought the house, paid taxes, gave my mom money. I had a few $100K in the bank, but I didn't want to lose half of it playing a World Series. Everyone's like, "Why did you even get backed?" It's like there's a lot of variance tournaments. So, and I had someone that was really eager and wanting to back me, and I sent in all my tournament results and hand histories, and they went through them, and they agreed to put me in the...
So this was Backs and Sheets.
Yep.
Cliff Josephy, who's done nothing in poker since, and Eric Haber. So yeah, that was publicized that they were backing you and they were on your rail during the, or at least I think I saw Cliff on your rail during the final table. But yeah, still a ton of money for a 21-year-old.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So what do you do? What was the first big splurge? Because I mean 8.5. Even if you only get half of that, that's still a lot of.
It took me like 2 years. I bought a really expensive house. That was like my biggest purchase. I think I still have clothes from high school. I'm not really a materialistic guy.
That's just you bragging that you haven't gained weight.
No, I've definitely gained weight. I'm at my max weight right now, so I'm not saying those clothes fit. I don't know. I never been
like a $160 soaking wet.
Yeah, right, 200. But I don't know. I've never been a huge materialistic guy. My house was my biggest purchase. That was like $650. But I have a couple roommates and
no fancy toys, Rolexes, sports cars.
I mean, I have Wave Runners, but I bought Wave Runners when I was 18 when I was doing well, and I bought some new ones when I was after the main. But nothing really. Just I drive an SUV. I mean, Michigan's not the greatest state to drive a sports car because one, the roads during the winter, all the salt and just the nasty roads. And in the summer, I'm here in Vegas, so never really felt the need to buy a sports car.
There was a lot made about you signing with Stars.
Yeah. That was an interesting story, actually.
For $1 million. Is that true?
That was an interesting story because down in the final 27, you started getting offered sponsorships, and I always wanted to sign with Stars because I knew they were the biggest, they're the best, they're most reliable, and best reputation. So I wanted to be with Stars. Even though I never really played much on Stars, I know that was the best for my future, was Stars. And final 27 down, Stars wasn't willing to offer anything, and Ultimate Bet, I played on Ultimate Bet all the time, and it wasn't when they had that shady reputation. It was during the midst of it all. So they offered me money, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to sign a long-term deal, so I'll wear this till the final table. So we worked out some deals to make it to the final table wearing Ultimate Bet stuff. And when it came to the final table, there was rules set in place where each poker site could only have 3 sponsorships. So that was the max you were allowed. PokerStars already had 2 guys, and they're aiming for Darvin Moon. So they weren't really interested at all.
Well, yeah, let's remind the listeners, this was a pretty epic final table because Phil Ivey was there.
Yeah, Phil Ivey was there.
And then you had solid players like Eric Buckman, who went on to win bracelets, and Antoine Saoud.
Shulman was there.
And, of course, my boss. This is actually interesting that we're even allowed to interview you after the pain you gave to Jeff at the final table.
It's funny. He always jokes about it still to this day. Like if I say it, he's like, you ruined my life. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I'm just joking. He's like,
he says the same thing to me when I miss a deadline. Jeff's just kidding, though.
Yeah, of course. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah,
but
no one takes it
with him and Phil Ivey, and I think Buckman, Full Tilt was all locked up. Stars was basically locked up, so it didn't leave many on the table. Matt Doyle's room, Ultimate Bet.
That's right, Doyle's room.
And I don't know if there was one other, but those were basically the 2 deals. And every site seemed like they offered a really similar deal. It was like if you took third, it was like, I don't know, 100K or 75K. Second was like 150K, and first was $1 million. Most sites offered if you won first, you got $1 million, but it entailed a whole year of a contract with them. And Darvin Moon ended up turning down PokerStars. He didn't want to be sponsored, and that's when I kind of backdoored into PokerStars because they're now like, okay, we have a spot open, we'll offer you a deal. So I'm like, all right, I accept.
Yeah. And then it turns out they bagged the champion.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I guess I had that lucky stars patch.
You obviously got into you had some televised good fortune.
Oh yeah, very much so.
But I don't know if you deserved the hate that came along with it.
I think the funny thing is like the final table was like 22 and a half hours. It was like one of the longest final tables during that time, just with the heads up, the 3-handed and the 9-handed. So
they did split it up though, right?
Yeah, they split it up, but in all it was like 22 and a half hours, and they show like an hour TV coverage plus commercial. So yeah, they're going to show the storylines they want to, which I mean, it was true. I got incredibly lucky, but a lot of the hands I got lucky on were hands that even to this day I wouldn't change how I played it, not because I won, but just because I thought it was correct. But there was a few telling hands there that I did make big mistakes that I wish I played differently, and it just worked out well, that it's almost like I learned from. But all the scrutiny I got from the hands, I didn't think I played wrong. Like one was, first off, it was interesting because the hand that I played the worst was I had ace jack, and I think I opened like middle late position, and Schulman shipped for like 13 or 14 big blinds.
Oh, ace king.
Yeah, and generally, like, I'm just so used to playing thousands upon thousands of hands online where I'm just like, all right, ace jack, late position, cutoff ships 13, 14 big blinds. They have, pairs 2 through 10s. They have king, queen. They have ace 10. I'm only down my ace, queen, ace, king, but I didn't really take into effect that, it's the main event. He's been getting coached up by Phil. He's going to have way tighter range.
Yeah.
Ace
Phil
jack,
did tighten him up a
ace
lot.
jack is never going to be good here. It's only going to be dominated. And it just kills my whole stack, and that was one of the biggest mistakes I made at the final tables. And I got down to 3.5 bigs, and no one even knows this, but when I was down to 3.5 bigs, they didn't show it on TV. It folds around to the button, and he hems and haws, and he ends up folding. The small blind moves in. I have to call with jack 4 offsuit because I'm getting like 2.5 to 1, and he has 4-5, and I went with jack high. And after the hand, Begler pounds the table, and he's like, I fold an ace on the button. He's like, you should be out. I'm like, wow, that's pretty strong fold. And he thought Buckman was going to re-raise me, which was kind of strange because there's like $1 million pay jumps. So I got lucky with that after getting up to like 7 or 8 blinds. I took down a few other ones, got up to like 12 blinds, and that's when Ivy raised, cut off, and I shipped 4s in the small blind, and he ended up calling with ace 8, and I won that one. And then I was at 22 big blinds. Next thing you know, like 5-6 rotations later, I was card dead for a while. We lost 2 more players, so now we're down to 5, which I'm like, wow, this is a huge pay increase because I thought I was going out 7. I had 3 big blinds. I thought 7 was my spot, and especially calling with jack 4 offsuit, you're not too optimistic.
I can't even imagine the emotional roller coaster of being resigned to 7th and ending up with a win.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. So when we're down to 5, it's 5 players. I'm the shortest stack, so ICM implications aren't into effect as much.
Yeah. And
Schulman raises, I think, middle position, maybe +1 under the gun. Either he's +1 under the gun or maybe under the gun. It's 5-handed. And I have like 15 or 16 big blinds. And in a previous hand at the final table, I saw Schulman raise 9s on the button, fold Ivy's big blind ship for 18 bigs with 9s, which was really bizarre. So I'm thinking, okay, my 3s are like 8s or 9s here. And I'm like, is he going to be raising his ace 3 suitors, his king queens, his king jacks? I'm like, yeah, I've seen him raise those hands, his ace 10s. I'm like, given all the hands that he raises and the hands that he calls off, given that, ace king and ace queen is going to be the majority of them with, 16 ways to make each, and aces, kings, queens, there's only 6 ways each to make those hands. And I just thought it was a really good spot. And, sometimes I have big pairs. It just sucks. And he had a big pair, and I got lucky. And that's part of the thing.
I think it was.
Yeah, jacks. And he took a long time to call with jacks still. He wasn't comfortable calling with jacks, which made me feel better. Everyone's like, oh, why would you ship on the tightest player? It's like, he may be the tightest player, but he's still raising, his standard amount of hands.
He's still not going to.
He's not going to fold king queen or king jack 5-handed. Yeah. Like, who's going to make it folding king queen 5-handed? So that was one, and then
he's a lot less nitty today.
Yeah. Even like the final 2 days, like we played a lot of pots together where he was 3-betting me with the the ace 3 suited and calling my 3-bets with marginal hands where he was opening it up, and I don't know how much he got in training and teaching. So it's a tough variable to understand when you have a couple months to lay off.
Well, I'm sure this will make him feel better when he hears it.
I love Shulman, so I'm not trying to talk bad about Shulman at all.
No,
he's a good player.
It's all good.
And the other one was three-handed. I had deuces, and I had like 28 or 30
This
big
was
blinds.
against Antoine.
Yeah, and he had a 2-1 chip lead on me and Darvin, so he had a lot of pressure that he was putting on us just because he had a 2-1 chip lead, and third to second's a big jump. And I raised small blind to big blind with deuces, assuming that I was going to get 3-bet a lot. That's why I played the hand. That's why I decided to raise, assuming that he was going to 3-bet bluff a lot, because it's all in or fold at that point, and there's not a whole lot of hands that you feel comfortable. So I'm just like, I don't think he's going to 3-bet his marginal pairs, and like that leaves his big pairs and all his bluffs. And I've even seen him 3-bet jack deuce off 9-handed. So I'm like, I don't even know what he's 3-betting 3-handed with the chip lead. And I'm just like, deuces was a really good spot, and I shipped it, and it was weird. It was another tank for like 40 seconds with queens, and I don't know. It's
deuce.
Yeah, deuce. It's very lucky, very, very fortunate I am.
Well, you made the most of it, and I like that you kind of took the mantle of poker ambassador and kind of ran with it. I don't know if Stars forced you to do that or not, but you were everywhere after your
that was part of it being Stars. I mean, I love poker, but again, I was a super shy kid. Poker was like my getaway almost. I played online just religiously. So being in the spotlight, it was something that I wasn't exactly comfortable with, but it was something that I knew I needed to do, and I was part of Stars at the time, so I needed to represent Stars as best I can, just poker in general.
Well, I mean, there's a crazy list here. CNN, CBS News, CNBC. You were on David Letterman, ESPN's First Take, the Scott Van Pelt Show. Wwe Raw? What was that like? They just show you in the crowd watching, or they make you come up on into the ring?
They told us that me and my agent at the time, we were in the front row, and then they said that there was going to be a stunt that's happening right in front of us, and that we're going to get TV time, and so they, it's all planned according to show, so we knew it was going to happen. It was pretty fun. It was my first Raw experience. I mean,
were you a big wrestling guy growing up, or?
I'm more of a big UFC fan.
Okay,
I even trained some jiu-jitsu and some MMA myself, but
a little more real.
Yeah, and it was a jam-packed schedule. I mean, right after I won the main, the next day it was wake up 4 a.m., do Morning in America or whatever, and then go to
Good Morning America?
Yeah, Good Morning America. Then it's like
oh, that little show.
And then it was go to New York for 2 weeks, do interview after. I don't even know all the shows, stations. You named some of the big ones, but there was a lot of small ones too. It was just very overwhelming at first.
I read that you got cut from SportsCenter.
Cut from SportsCenter.
Is that true? That's what your Wikipedia says.
I don't know about cut from SportsCenter. I was on what was it? Gosh, First Take was it? I don't know. Yeah, First Take, and they're like, "Oh, what is he good at?" And my agent, we didn't know what to do on that show. And then, so he's like, "Oh yeah, he's a beer pong player." I didn't even say that. And like, "Oh, okay." So they set up like a beer pong table, like, "All right, how many shots can you make in 30 seconds?" And I actually just nailed it. I was just nailing every cup. So did
perfect.
it in like 10 seconds. It was perfect.
It's always good when the agent's
and I mean, I played beer pong like anyone else played beer pong when they were 20. It was not like I did it for practice downstairs in my basement in my downtime or something.
He probably saw you drunk playing it where you were screaming, "I'm the greatest in the world."
I am good at beer pong.
So you take a little bit of the heat from the poker world and the online warriors, I guess. But you came close to another bracelet in 2012. Then a couple close calls after that, and then boom, 10K 6 max in 2014. That's a pretty prestigious bracelet.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in this game long enough to know that there's just so much variance in tournaments. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so much, you just got to be on the right side of things. I mean, there's a lot of good decision making, but, I went through 2010 without a single cash, and I'm like, wow, it's hard to do.
It's interesting. I looked at your tournament resume. Obviously, you've been playing online in those years as well and cash games. But it seems like after the main event win, there was like two lean years, followed with consistency every summer after that.
Yeah.
Was there an adjustment period, or did you have a target on your back, you think?
I don't know. I think that I didn't get away with as much as I was previously getting away with, and I think I needed to adjust a lot. I think I was opening too many hands where now people are willing to 3-bet so a lot more easily because they know I'm up to a lot more, and they just want to kind of, I don't know, play a pot with me. I guess the year or two after, I guess I didn't adjust well enough. That's on myself.
I talked to Moneymaker about that very same problem, and I'm sure he still gets it today, where people just want to beat the champ, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think I adjusted well in 2010. Again, there was just so many pivotal hands in tournaments that they can make or break you. You could play a pot, 20 away from the money for the chip lead, and that pot could be everything. That could determine whether you go to a final table or not even make the money.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of high variance spots. I know I've done really well in these, like the 1500s and the bigger fields. I had a few final tables in those, and I got lucky with the 10K. Won that one, and I don't know, tournaments. That's why I like playing cash. I've always been a cash game player. Even today, like last year was one of my best online cash years. Just playing on the American sites, I've done really well in the last.
Right. So you're
years.
in a Shelby Township right now, Shelby Charter Township.
Yep.
And that's pretty close to the border.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes from Canada. So on Sundays, it's easy to go drive over to Canada and play. And then during the week, you got the American sites, Ignition, America's Card Room.
Yeah.
And had a lot of success on those. So again, I don't really feel the eagerness to drive all the time on Sunday or travel for these big events, just because I don't know. I have a dog. I have family. My dad has not been doing well, so it's easy to stay home and just play online and play cash. So it's been primarily what I've been doing for the last few years.
I heard you got your car stolen. What was that about?
Chicago. That was interesting. I got invited out to do a Chicago event. I think it was America's Poker Tour. It's a new poker tour. And I like doing local events, the ones that you drive to, like Heartland and stuff, just because I can go with all my buddies from home.
Yeah. Was this in Elizabeth or?
It was in
Horseshoe Hammond?
Gary, Indiana.
Gary, okay.
Gary, right outside of Chicago. And I went down with a few friends to go play, and the first flight got canceled, and I just stayed in the room with my buddy, and we were just playing online the whole day. And I was up to like 3 a.m. playing online, and I woke up next day at like 11:30, and I look at my phone, I have like 20 some missed calls.
Oh wow.
I'm like, oh gosh, this is never good. And it was like 9 of them were from my ex-girlfriend, and I call her up, and she's crying hysterically. So I'm thinking so there's an accident, something happened in the family.
She was your girlfriend at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And finally she's like, oh, I'm just glad you're okay. You're glad you're okay. Then eventually she's like, yeah, they found your car in an alley with the doors open, the keys still in it. And
you're like, my car's downstairs.
And they've been trying, yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, is my car really stolen? And I'm like, that's hard to believe. And yeah, so they were getting all worried because I didn't answer my phone for hours.
Yeah.
So they don't know what happened.
Typical poker player fashion.
They don't know what happened to me. They don't know if I went and just bought drugs and all of a sudden something happened and no, I'm gone. But yeah, long story short, they ended up recovering it, and I had to go drive like 4 hours to go get it. I don't even know how it got stolen, honestly. That still blows my mind.
Did you valet it?
It was front spot right in front of the hotel. There was not many people at that hotel, and there were some cameras pointed directly at that spot. So I don't know what ended up happening with that. I made a report to the hotel, made a police report. The guy even got tickets that I was responsible for, which is weird.
You paid them?
Yeah. You had to. I even talked to the cops. They're like, yeah, you're responsible for him. So
that's bullshit.
It is bullshit. But what are you going to do?
Oh my gosh.
It's the world we live in.
Brutal. Oh man. All right, so we got some fun questions for you. Can you talk about your first big live tournament experience? Do you remember what it was?
First big live tournament experience has to be probably the main event. I mean, I guess not. That was like the first deep. There was a 1500 that I ran really deep in that year. I thought it was going to be my only shot at winning a bracelet. I still remember the hands vividly. And we were down to like the final. It was crazy because when I went out to the World Series, all my friends had huge expectations. They all knew I was crushing it online. I was super successful, and they thought I was like the best. But because I was like a teenager and they didn't see anything like the money I was bringing in.
You were the home game hero.
Yeah, I was the home game hero. So they all expected so much. I'm just like, man, these fields are so big. And there's just like bricks, some cashes here and there. And this 1500 event, I finally started running deep in an event. We were down to like the final 20 players. I'm like, man, I really think I can win a bracelet here. I'm like third or fourth in chips, and all of a sudden there was an epic hand I played with Elkie. And that was the first time I met Elkie. And I will always remember Elkie now. It was like a small blind, big blind hand where it was like I opened jacks, he 3-bet the big blind.
What color was his hair though at the time?
I don't even remember. That's a good question. And I 4-bet the jacks, and he 5-bet ripped ace 10. And it came all spades, and I had the jack spades. He had no spades. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is for the chip lead. I'm good to go. Just river came to like the red ace. And it just like sunk my heart. I'm like, oh, there goes my shot of winning a bracelet this year.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I'm just like, well, I guess I got the main event left. And that was like a few events before the main. And then the main, someone misplayed their hand real early against me. They didn't realize the board was like 5, 6, 7, 8 of clubs. So 4 to the straight flush. There was like 4 people in the hand. It was checked all the way down. It's probably like 600 or 800 in the pot. Next thing you know, I ended up playing like a 90K pot in like second or third level in day 1 with the ace of clubs. Like he bet 3K into like 800, and then I check raised to like 13K, and then he ripped it. And I'm like, wow, like this is the main event. Like the guy thought he won the hand too. He didn't realize there was a straight flush out there.
Oh man!
And I only had 1 card of the straight flush. So it was a bizarre hand, and I just
it's the best tournament of the year.
Yeah, I catapulted up to the chip lead in my flight, and I was never all in at tournament risk till the final table. So I was never at a chance to get knocked out of the main until the final, which was crazy. It was just a really smooth run.
That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really smooth run the whole way.
After you signed with Stars, that kind of ended in 2009. The story back then was that they weren't even going to give you...
not 2009, it was like 2013 or...
Sorry, 14? You're right, 2013. 2009 is when you started the relationship with Stars. So what was the deal there? Like, I read that you asked for something pretty reasonable, and they were like, no.
They offered me a contract. It was weird. They offered me a contract, and each year it's steadily getting, progressively worse, which was, I understood. I got it. But
getting further away from the main event win.
Yeah, and I didn't bring as much to the table. Black Friday, so I was okay just getting my rake back and representing PokerStars. And then the new contract came, and they
Sorry, we're recording. It's all good. Go ahead.
So the main event, or the new contract came, they offered me a contract, and it was maybe like 1 or 2 buy-ins, and not much more than that. And there's a lot of time you have to take away for Stars too, like doing these, like before the tournaments, like they have group meetings, they have group activities for Stars, there's just so much things like blogs, it's different things you have to do for Stars. Around it's like 1 or 2 tournaments and all these requirements. I'm like, listen, I'll be happy to join with you guys. You don't have to pay me anything. I just want rake back because you guys have me signed for site exclusivity, so I have to play on Stars only, and I'm generating almost 100K in rake back. So you guys are making 100K off me in rake back. If I go to other sites, then you guys aren't making as much, and you guys don't even have to pay me. I just want to, and it seemed weird to me because
seems a reasonable request.
In anything in life, if you're sponsored by a brand, you shouldn't have to pay to wear that brand or to, for example, like if you're sponsored by Nike, it would be weird paying for Nike uniforms. Yeah. Just like if you're sponsored by PokerStars, it feels weird to pay to use their product online. Like you would think they want me to represent their product, but I don't know, the new management and everything, it was a very rude leaving too. Like they're like, well, if you don't like it, then you can leave. And it wasn't like, oh, we thank you for the 4 years, sorry, we have a disagreement. They were just very rude about it all, which was really surprising because the 4 years I was with PokerStars, everyone was so nice. It was like the nicest company to work for. Everyone was great. But then once they changed ownership, it just seemed like everything flipped on its side, and they just didn't care about relationships anymore. And I just left PokerStars, and that was that.
Well, what's your thought on what's going on with them today? I mean, because you still play every once in a while, right?
Yeah, I still play on Stars. I mean, I don't have a grudge against Stars. I mean, I think they're not taking the proper steps for a lot of decisions they're making. But there's a new company that I've been working with. It's Norwegian Poker. It's I got invited out a few years ago for a cruise. They're like, hey, you want to come out? come play this cruise. It's, they paid for my travel. And I'm like, oh, I love cruises. So it was like a vacation with me and my girlfriend. Invite some friends out there, play some small buy-ins, just enjoy the cruise. And when I got there, it was great. They did a great job putting together. Turnout was good. The cash games were amazing. I never thought cash games would be this good in my life, and the cash games were just the best things I've ever seen. And I'm like, wow, I want to do this again.
Boat people got money.
These guys have more than money. I mean, we're playing 5-10. These guys are losing hundreds of thousands, and they're just having the best time of their life. They're laughing. These guys all have, hundreds. Some of these guys have hundreds of millions that they didn't care. It was all people retired that, they're cruising for a living almost. Like this one guy cruises 6 months out of the year.
Sounds like my boss.
Yeah, so it was great.
Shout out to Barry Schulman.
They invited me the next year. Numbers kept going up. Third year, numbers have been drastically going up, and now they're we've been talking about being the brand ambassador for the site and help putting their tournaments together and
That's
different
awesome.
things like that. So and now at first it was like they intermix like the poker with like people going on a cruise. Now we have our own boat and everything, so it's all generalized for the cruise. And now they're doing like Norwegian has their own island in the Bahamas, so they're setting up all these different things for like cabanas, and we're getting different sponsorships from like Bacardi and different companies like that. So it's really taken off. And the first year it was a $200K guarantee. They had 200 players, but like 40 or 50 players didn't show up just because of satellites. They didn't want to pay for the cruise, so it was like some overlay. Next year it was like 280. Now it was like 330. Now it's going up. Now they're almost having to turn people away. So it's a good problem.
I got some disposable income and I want to invest in a restaurant. Why shouldn't I do that?
Does this have anything to do with me being in a restaurant?
I want to hear the story.
Well,
Unless it's too painful.
No, the story's fine. I don't have any pain in stories. I got brought up to the idea a few years after the main. Like, I mean, I wanted to be in business outside poker. I don't want to rely on poker for the rest of my life.
Yeah, of course.
And just like anyone, they want to, have other things outside of poker. But poker is what I was good at, and poker is what I knew. So it was an investment opportunity came up where they stopped issuing charity license in Michigan, but I knew a guy that had the opportunity to move his charity license, and so couldn't obtain one, but he had one. And there was a perfect spot that was opening up for a restaurant and charity poker room, and I started up a charity room, and not with the best business partner. You make mistakes. Found out he was stealing quite a bit from the company and in general, but we got the poker room up and running. It was super nice. We would have 8 blackjack tables at a time. We'd have, 3 or 4 cash games. We were doing well, but for a while we were waiting on our liquor license. So we were operating with a charitable liquor license. So all our proceeds from our liquor sales would go all straight to charity, and half our gambling profits would go straight to charity. So while we were like breaking even, maybe losing a little, making a little, we're waiting forever for this liquor license. And I was told I had the best liquor license lawyer, and I still believe that. He did a great job, but the problem was the state was really putting a hold on they were not happy with all the charity rooms with the casinos, because the casinos were losing.
It was still an issue, I think, up until recently with the charity rooms in Michigan and in Ohio.
Yeah, so the casinos were not happy because they were losing a lot of business. No one wants to drive 40 minutes to Detroit or 50 minutes to Detroit and play in Detroit, where Detroit's not the best area in general. And people could come in and you can gamble $1 in blackjack. You can watch the football game and just sit there and have food. And it was a really good idea, but the problem was our room was over 10,000 square feet, so we had about 15 to 20 tables, and they passed the law saying that before, like, each charity could sell up to $15,000 worth of chips. So if you had enough charities scheduled, you could have 10 to 15 charities in there a night selling up to $200,000 worth of chips. And they changed the rules around where you could only have one charity a night. So it went from being able to sell $100,000 worth of chips to being able to sell $15,000, which you could get like maybe a 1-2 game and run that one table for the day for or maybe 2 tables of 1-2 instead of playing like 4 tables of 2-5 and then blackjack.
Yeah.
So it went from having over 10,000 square foot. Plus we were waiting a year and a half for a liquor license. Like it was a foreclosed. We bought the liquor license. We had the liquor license. We were just waiting for it to be approved. So we already had the liquor license. So it was such a delay on that. And then once they changed that, I was like, we can't stay open with having 1 table and having no profit from liquor. So that was when it was just time to just close the doors because it's nothing to do about it. We had 1 minor violation that I was very upset because Poker News like almost blew it out of proportion. Like there's a rule that you cannot reuse unopened or open liquor bottles. So like say we bought liquor from the previous night with the charity, you cannot reuse the liquor bottles for the next night.
You can't reseal it because it's not a permanent establishment.
You can't even reuse the liquor bottle. So if you bought that liquor and you had the receipt for that day, you can't use that liquor the next day.
Wow.
Well, we got in trouble for reusing unopened liquor for the next day. And it was a misdemeanor violations. But then on Poker News,
so you got to buy all the liquor for each day every day. Wow.
And it's basically all the charity's responsibility too because it was a charity liquor license. And so we got like some minor violations for just misdemeanors for for violations for the charity liquor license. But then it came out like it almost like portrayed us in a way of like stealing money from charities, which was not okay. And I read that in Poker News, and they didn't really elaborate on what was going on. I was really upset that they didn't even contact me or ask me like the side of stories. Like it was nothing. We didn't have to pay fines. It was just we were so highly like looked at with regards of just legality of it all because they were trying to crack down on the charity rooms. Mm-hmm. And it's just after they changed that law to only have 1 charity, it's just you couldn't stay open. It was just too big of a room. It was too much overhead.
I'm sorry it didn't work out.
It's okay. It was too big of a headache anyway with just all the people you have to fire from stealing and then the manager stealing. It's just like when you have money, everyone wants to steal from you. It's like I've been stolen from so many times since I've won the main. It's crazy. Like I have my checkbook stolen over $60K. Like I was gone in Vegas one year and what I thought was a friend was friends with my roommate at the time, somehow snuck in my room, found my checkbook and started writing checks to himself. Didn't even sign like the right name because I signed Joseph for everything. Did
you get it back?
Yeah, the bank refunded me, but it's just like, everything
crime.
like, just got my watch stolen out of my house, got jewelry, like just people you don't expect to steal. It just sucks, people, you got a big target on your head once you.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, yeah. The second you go to the cage, there's a bunch of people following you.
Yeah.
In every tournament. All right. Well, we got like a 10-minute warning or something like that before your tournament starts.
Okay.
And I got Eric's gonna come in knocking the door with 2 minutes left, so you won't miss anything. I promise.
All right.
So rapid fire questions. Favorite tournament destination?
Ooh.
Not so rapid answer.
No, all right, sorry. I'll say
all good.
favorite place I ever went to was Aruba for an ultimate bet tournament.
Oh,
that was
I loved Aruba.
That was awesome. It was,
and I got to meet. Room?
I was like 19. I got to meet all the grinders I was playing with on the regular, and it was just overall a really fun experience.
I like that resort.
That was like my favorite time.
That was a good one. Good news. The heads up is a long way away from starting.
Oh, that thing's always a long way. Every year they're like half an hour delay. It's a big scram. I'm not even worried about that, honestly.
Okay, good to hear. Which poker pro did you admire coming up, and did you ever get to play a pot with him or her?
Phil Ivey. Phil Ivey was someone I always admired.
And did you ever play a pot with
him? Yes. He very
obviously the main event.
I will never forget the hand. Yeah, I played a few hands with him, but there was one that will always stick in my mind where I was opening a lot of hands, of course, and I had like a 8-9 suitor or 9-10 suitor, and I opened like the hijack, and he 3-bets me out of the big blind, and I thought for sure, I'm like, this just seems like, if I was Phil Ivey, this seems like a great 3-bet spot here because I'll have to commit it all, and I can't really 4-bet bluff here given the stack sizes, and I've been opening so many hands. I'm just like, man, 9-10 suited is a perfect hand to rejam here. I'm like, but I'll look like an idiot if I do this and just go out of the main, just giving it all to Phil Ivey because I think he's making a play on me. Sure enough, they show that hand on TV, and he has the deuce 6 offsuit. I was like, oh man. But yeah, he schooled me. He's Phil Ivey.
Did you ever best him in a pot?
by luckiness with the
Well,
fours.
that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, I beat him just some small pots where you bet the flop and he folds. No big flop, just the fours to the ace-8 where I won the flip against him.
Yeah.
We never really got into any like crazy hand against each other.
What's your best gambling degen story, but outside of poker?
Best gambling degen story?
Are you a big gambler, prop better, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I've done my fair share of gambling and made my fair share of mistakes.
Nothing stands out?
I don't even know if I want to get into any degen stories.
That's okay. No, that's it.
Yeah, I'll
Some
pass.
of them are illegal. Maybe the statute of limitations isn't up on those. Worst bad beat you ever put on anybody?
Worst bad beat? Well, I mean, the main event would be
For equity, yeah. That's
equity-wise. That the worst bad beat I ever put on someone was probably like a few months after the main event. I was in LA and there was like a 2K side event. I got in with ace king against kings, and he flopped a king, and I went running aces. And yeah,
that's pretty dirty.
That was the worst one.
At least you remember it. Most people never know the answer to that question.
I remember my worst bad beat.
I've never won.
I remember my worst bad beat to this day. I will never forget my worst bad beat.
Well, there are worst bad beat for sure, but the worst bad beat you put on somebody.
Of course.
Yeah,
It was too funny not to remember the ace.
yeah. Well, let's hear that one.
It was just a side event, and it was a 3-bet, and it was just a standard all in, and he just flopped a king, and I just ran out aces. I don't know. It was just.
No, that one. I thought you were talking about your worst bad beat.
Oh, I was like 17 or 18, and it was during the Party Poker Millions on Sunday, and I was down to like the final 17 players, and I got in with aces to 2 people having kings, and got 4 flushed. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
that's pretty nasty. What was the toughest time of your career? Poker-wise, obviously.
Toughest time of my career poker-wise?
It's been smooth sailing the entire time?
I'd say like the year after, maybe. Like the year right after, just because there's this big adjustment period. I just, never being told like when to wake up, when to do certain things, and I was just getting pulled in so many different directions, so many people asking for money, so many, like, it was just like a big headache, and then not winning on top of that with expectations, and then people always calling you lucky, and it was weird. It's like if I didn't win the main event, I would have a good poker pedigree and people would not say anything, but then after I won the main event, everyone just thought I was like bad and a luck box, and which was rightfully so, like seeing the main event coverage. But I don't know, I guess the year or two after was tough.
That could be pretty brutal, especially when you're getting hounded from all sides and poker's not going well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, can I just get this squared away before everyone else bothers me about that? What about motivation? Because
motivations,
when you pocket 8.5 or the first place prize in the main event and you're 21, you did it already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People spend their whole lives trying to get to that point. So what keeps you coming back?
I guess like just my enjoyment for it, and also there's not much else I'm really good at in life than poker. I mean, it's always what I made my money at. Like business, I've tried business, didn't work out.
Professional jets, wave runner,
No.
rider, is that a thing?
No, definitely not, and I wouldn't even be able to. But I guess just money and just making a living and just what to do with your time. I have a hard time filling in all the time void, I guess, and I don't know. You do lose a lot of motivation. I remember before the main event, I would skip every other day of sleep sometimes and just play nonstop, and I was always playing. And after the main event, it's just the need to play goes down, and then if the less you play, the less you're in tune with the game, and there's other kids out there playing 30 hours, and they're trying to do their best to make it. So it's like it's very easy to get overlapped in poker, and for people to become a lot better than you.
Are you a headphones at the table type of guy?
Not normally. I've been so more lately.
What are you listening to?
So I listen to like old 90s. I listen to like Bone Thugs on Pandora, Eminem. I listen to such a wide assortment.
Mm-hmm.
Techno, depends. I'm all over the place.
All right, but if you had to if you could set up a concert in your backyard with a dream headliner, who are you picking?
Probably I like Eminem a lot.
Okay. And he'd probably bring like 19 of his friends, so
Yeah.
you'll
so
get a
that'd
bunch
be
of
good.
sideshows. And
Yeah,
openings.
Eminem's good.
Can you tell us about the biggest pot you've ever won or lost in terms of cash? Or if not?
I don't know. There was, for a time after the main, I went online and I was, part of my Stars contract got paid to me so like the first quarter I got like 250. So I just decided to take some shots at some bigger games. And I was playing 50, 100 and 100, 200 heads up for a while, and everyone was lining up to play me after I won the main, and I was doing really well at 100, 200, and I even played a little 200, 400, and I think I was up like maybe 80-some thousand playing, just not much, only a few buy-ins, but I was playing quite a bit. But people would quit me, I noticed, like after a while. Like I'll play a regular for a while, then after like 40 minutes you'll quit me, and it was almost like a good sign to me. I'm like, okay, these guys actually don't want to play that much. Then I stopped getting action at the year after at the higher stakes, the limit tables, and I started playing PLO, which I wasn't the greatest at the time, which people were way above me, and I lost, I don't know, maybe like 200K at 200, 400 PLO, which is not much at all, but it's a big number.
That's a big number.
Yeah, I mean it's 5 buy-ins, but 5 buy-ins at 200, 400, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So those were the biggest games I ever really been a part of online, and after that I didn't really take any shots at that. I just went back down and started playing 10, 20 and 25, 50 and 5, 10 again. And live I played some big cash games where it was not poker after dark, the loose cannon one where they give someone 100,000.
The PokerStars $1 million cash game?
Yeah, I played that. I never had that good of results on any TV cash game, but I lost I think like 70K in the TV cash game, and then I played one in Reno, it got out of line. It was the first time I met Jeremiah, who's a name in the poker world kind of now. Not for being really good at poker, but for other reasons. Anyway, we were playing 100, 200, and then he was straddling to 900 every hand from every position. So it became like a 100, 200, 900 game. And that game got really big. But I can't really remember any of the biggest pots I won or lost, which is kind of weird when it comes to like 200,000 or 160,000, because I played a lot of pots where, they're over 100,000, but I can't really, just when you're playing online, you're playing so many hands sometimes that you don't really remember all of them.
Can I ask you an insider question?
Yeah.
So like those PokerStars made for TV events, are all the Stars players even playing with their own money, or?
It depends on the player. I mean, I played with all my own money on those cash games. I didn't saw any action. I thought the spots were pretty good.
Oh, I just wasn't sure if Stars was like putting up the money.
Oh, Stars was not putting up any of the money for any of the players for those games. Only the loose cannon was the guy that was getting put up in the game.
Yeah.
Everyone else was responsible for their own money.
And that guy earned his seat.
Yeah.
Somehow. Do some tournament.
Yeah, do some tournament and then some video that they made.
That's what it was.
Yeah, why they should be the loose cannon.
We end the podcast the same way every time with a random question from the random question generator. How often do you nap? That's a really random question.
Never.
You're not a napper.
Not a napper.
When's the last time you fell asleep during the day?
Yesterday.
That's a bad question with poker players with the crazy schedules.
Yeah, just because you busted these tournaments, and I didn't know what to do. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock, and I'm watching my friends down in the final 12 of the Colossus, and I was watching for a little bit, and then I went back to just charge my phone. And I laid down for a second, and I passed out. So that was like the last time. Other than that, I can't nap during the day. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I guess there's always something that I want, I don't know, like whether it be video games or poker or whatever it is, there's always something that keeps my mind going where it's like I don't nap that much.
I have a problem where I feel ready for a nap, and then I'll start doing something else, and then I've totally taken myself out of it.
See, I have the problem where I can't fall asleep at night. When I'll go lay down with I guess ex-girlfriend at the time, I'll go lay down at 11 o'clock, and it'll be like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm still watching TV, and I can't sleep. I have to go to bed when my body feels exhausted.
Maybe you should try one of those white noise machines or something.
Maybe I do really well sleeping on airplanes or car rides and stuff. So
really,
maybe
I'm terrible.
Maybe I just need to be moving like a baby or something.
Maybe you just need to be sitting upright.
Yeah, I don't know. But I've always
give yourself a recliner to fall asleep.
I've always had sleeping problems. Maybe partially because you play poker all day, it kind of gets your blood going and your mind thinking and racing. So it's hard to shut it off afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. You're constantly thinking about all the hands and what you could have done differently.
Your blood just naturally, sped up from all the gambling.
Well, I just got a message saying that they're about to do the draw to see if you get a buy.
I don't even know if I want to buy or not. I can't decide if I want to buy. I probably want to buy, I guess.
Yeah, it's a nice little discount.
Yeah, but at the same time.
Oh no, you pay. If you get the buy, you pay $10K, right?
Yeah, if you get the buy. Normally, I don't think I've got one buy yet. Every year, I feel like I've been like 2-0, 3-0, and I never win my next match. I don't know. Maybe I can break the ice this time.
Yeah.
I've always won my first match, though. I've never got knocked out first shot.
Uh-oh. I don't like that you said that.
I haven't cashed the main event since the win either.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
I like that you said that. Balance it out. Yeah. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck today.
Well, thanks.
And the rest of the summer and the rest of your career.
Thank you.
That's the show. Thanks again to Joe. You can follow him on social media at Cada99. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Attention American poker players. Do you want to legally cash out your poker winnings to PayPal? Then head to globalpoker.com and see why it's the fastest growing site for US players. That's globalpoker.com.